It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the movies of August 7th, 1992. August 7th, 1992. And actually, we have 7 movies to look at. I know I said yesterday we had 8. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any footage of Drive 92, so we're not going to be able to talk about that one. But, like I said, 7 movies to look at. We still have a packed show, so let's not waste any time. Let's just jump on into it. And we're going to start off with easily the biggest new release this week. It was the movie that eventually won the year's Academy Award for Best Picture, Clint Eastwood in the modern western Unforgiven. Okay, maybe modern's probably not the best word for it. I mean, technically it kind of is because it did come out in 92, but this takes place in the film itself takes place in the 1800s, so technically it's not a modern western. It's a revisionist western, I should have probably said, but needless to say, though, I mean, this is one of those movies where I really don't need to talk about it too much because there's not much more that could be said about this one that hasn't already been said. It's a fantastic movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, actually. And it's Clint Eastwood returning to the Western role that made him famous one last time. And it's a very good film. It's a really well-made film. Eastwood's given one of his best performances. He also directs the film. Gene Hackman also is very good in this movie. And you have Morgan Freeman in there, Richard Harris. And, of course, Eastwood and Hackman won Oscars for Best Director and Best Actor. Best Supporting Actor, I should say. And then Best Picture. And of the movies that we've looked at on this particular show, this is probably the one Best Picture winner that I would say is the best of the bunch that we've looked at so far. It's better than Driving Miss Daisy. It's better than Dances with Wolves. It's better than Silence of the Lambs. It's a movie that I can go back to numerous times and just watch and be amazed by how much I enjoyed this movie so much. It's a very well made film, fantastic film all around. Really, there's nothing else more I can put into this that hasn't already been said already about it. If you haven't seen Unforgiven yet, for the love of God, man, go see it. Even if you don't like westerns, you'll definitely love this movie. It's a wonderful film, Unforgiven, classic Clint Eastwood at its best. So, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is John Lithgow in the psychological thriller Raising Cain from director Brian De Palma. Or this movie should just be simply called the John Lithgow movie because he steals the show, man. I mean, he is fantastic in this movie. He is the psychological killer, and he's just a ton of fun to watch in this movie. I mean, he's really one of the main reason you watch this movie is because he's playing all these different roles in here, and he's just... When John Lithgow plays a villain, usually it's very good, and this is one of his strongest performances as playing these multiple antagonist roles, I should say, and in a way, it kind of predates what Split would eventually become, sort of. But yeah, it's a great movie overall. Directed by Brian De Palma. His first thriller he actually has done since Body Double, which came out almost 10 years before this in '84, and it's a really good movie. It's very terrifying, very tense. Keeps you on the edge of your seat throughout the course of the movie, and you're just wondering what's going to happen at the end of this movie. How's this going to pan out? And when they stick the landing, they do a pretty good job with it for the most part. Yeah. And it's a very good movie. It's an overall enjoyable film. If you want to see John Lithgow at his absolute best, definitely check out Raising Cain. You will not be sorry that you did. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie here, and that is the family comedy Three Ninjas. Because Home Alone and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were the 2 biggest family hits in the 1990s, Disney basically said, you know what, let's put them both together, because that's literally what this movie is. Like, they take the elements of Home Alone, they take the elements of Ninja Turtles, mesh them together, and you get a movie here that surprisingly did very well. This was only a $2.5 million budgeted film, and nearly made back 10 times that much. In fact, made more than 10 times that much, because it made like $30 million, and they actually made a series out of this. This was the only one released by Disney, though. This is John Turteltaub who directed this movie, and one of his early movies before he eventually became the big director that he became known as. And I mean, as far as the movie goes, it's pretty much your typical 90s kids movie. It's something that I think more people who have seen who saw this movie as a kid growing up would definitely get more out of it than most other people would. I myself didn't grow with this movie, so really watching it later on down the road, I can really see why a lot of people didn't like it. But I can also see why kids who saw this movie back in '92 and grew up now look at this movie and would find more enjoyment out of it than I did. I just didn't think it was that good of a movie. I mean, I thought it was just too. It was a little too corny for my own taste, and I'll take some corny stuff, but this was really corny at times. It gets way too silly at times. You don't really get any good laughs in this movie. It just didn't work for me. I know it works for some people, but me personally, it just didn't work. So that's my thoughts on Three Ninjas. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie here, and that's another thriller, which is Annabelle Sciorra and I almost said Alan Arkin, Alan Alda in Whispers in the Dark. Another movie that has a pretty good cast overall. Annabelle Sciorra, I just mentioned. Also Alan Alda. You got Joe Claver, John Leguizamo, Deborah Unger, Anthony LaPaglia. Really good cast here. There's potential here for a pretty good mystery overall. However, when you watch the movie in the end, it basically just comes off as a knockoff Basic Instinct and not even a very good one. I mean, this movie tries way too hard to be risque. It tries way too hard to be this dark, twisted, erotic thriller, and A Basic Instinct was just one of those rare erotic thrillers that actually scored with people. It actually was a pretty good movie overall. But this is it's a movie that's so predictable. You can pretty much tell what's going to happen at the end, and sure enough, everything that you think is going to happen in here. And it's just, like I said, it's trying way too hard to be this deep erotic thriller. I mean, right from the beginning of the movie, they have this really explicit and dark opening credits sequence that's just like, settle down there, guys. I mean, you're pushing way too hard for this movie to do what you think you want it to do, and it just shows that this movie did not really pan out as well as I think they wanted it to. It's a movie that could have had something interesting, especially with the people on board, but in the end, it's pretty much a generic movie that you've seen done over and over again. It's another lackluster erotic thriller that came and went, and for good reason. It just didn't end up being good. Ended up being one of the worst movies of the year by a lot of people, and you could definitely see why. So that's Whispers in the Dark. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is Mistress. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I expected a much different movie with the title Mistress, but I was not expecting a kind of a lower version of The Player, which I think is a much better movie. But I know I should be saying that because I haven't seen this. I can't really comment on it too much. But I mean, it doesn't look too. Honestly, it doesn't look too bad. But it just looks like a movie that was trying to be kind of like The Player in a way. Except the player, I think was written a lot better. But I mean, this movie doesn't have too many bad reviews. In fact, if I look on Rotten Tomatoes, it's got a 72% on there, so that's not too bad. Good cast overall. Robert De Niro, Christopher Walken, Danny Aiello, Martin Landau, Gene Smart, Cheryl Lee Ralph, Tuesday Knight, Laurie Metcalf, Martin Landau. Just a great cast overall in this particular movie, so I mean, it might be one I might definitely check out one day, but it's not something I'm going to rush out to see right now, but oh, and Robert Wolf's in here too, in between his work on Batman and then Artless. So there's that. But other than that, though, it's not one I'm going to rush out to see. But I am kind of curious to check it out maybe one day. So maybe one day I'll definitely check it out. But for right now, it's something that I haven't seen, so I can't really say any more about it. So that's Mistress for you. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is London Kills Me. Unfortunately, there was no trailer for that, so I just took a little bit of a clip from the movie. But I've never seen this movie, so let me just give you a rundown of the plot here. For want of a nail, a shoe was lost. For want of a shoe, a young man's life is almost lost, which is exactly what this film is all about. A man barely 22 wants desperately to pull out of London's drug world by taking a job as a waiter in a normal restaurant. But to do that, he has to come up with a sensible pair of shoes, an item that homeless meanderings haven't provided him. In fact, the shoes become a symbol of his striving to break away from those like himself who are caught up in the tragedy of drugs and lavishness, which is so aptly described, sometimes graphically, almost realistically in this film. Like I said, that's pretty much all I know about this. I read that off of the IMDb page because I know nothing about this movie. There's no trailer for it, so I can't really go into too much on that. It came out this weekend. That's pretty much all I got for you. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you on that one. So let's go ahead and move on to the last movie that we have here, and that is Bed and Breakfast. So as you can tell, the plot is about Roger Moore, this charming Englishman who changes the lives of these 3 generations of women who run a near-bankrupt bed and breakfast. They find him out cold on the beach, offer him free board in return to fixing up the place, being the handyman. And he's unwilling. One of the ladies, Claire, played by Talia Shire, is initially unwilling to let him in the house, partially due to the mystery around him caused by his amnesia. Her mother-in-law, Ruth, Colleen DeHurst, recently retired and craving adventure, insists on allowing him inside, and Claire's teenage daughter, Cassie, played by Nina Simasko, is rebellious against her mother's old-fashioned beliefs most of the time, names him Adam. Again, reading it off of Wikipedia because I haven't seen this movie, I can't really comment on it, but I can say that it did come out, and that's a weekend, and it looks like a movie that's could go either way. I haven't seen anything too negative about it. I haven't seen anything too positive about it. It looks like something that could go either way in terms of what kind of a movie it ends up becoming. But like I said, I can't really comment on it too much because I haven't seen it. I can only say that it came out this weekend and acknowledge that it came out this weekend. So that is Bed and Breakfast for you. And so on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. Next time we meet, we'll look at the movies of August 14th. 5 movies to look at, including Single White Female. We also have Stay Tuned with John Ritter, Digstown. We also have The Living End and Johnny Suede. So 5 movies to look at next time around, and we will look at those movies when we come back here on Sunday. Of course, we'll have a new movie stop tomorrow, and some other things as well that I'm trying to figure out what to do for this weekend. So there's still going to be some content out there, so stay tuned for that. But of course, Stairway to Sevens on Sunday too. That'll be after the Steelers and Bills game this week. Kenny Pickett makes his starting debut for the Steelers, so that'll be fun to watch. Unless he is assuming that the Bills don't overtake this game immediately, which they're probably going to do, but you never know. So there's not going to be a lack of there's not going to be a lack of videos this week, I should say. I wasn't going to stop after that. So anyway, with that said, thank you guys for watching this video so much. If you want to see more videos like this one, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and I will see you guys for the next video. So thank you for watching, I'll see you next time, and until then, as always, take care.